and deal with my health. So I just was always, I don't want to say scrambling, but kind of, because I was missing a lot of class and didn't know how to deal with that. And we kept thinking like things are going to level out and it'll stop. And then they just didn't. And so I needed more help with like, how do I manage my health and try to be a full-time student and be missing class all the time and communicate that with professors. I just was kind of lost with like, how do I be a student and manage everything else that's going on, because the stuff that I was managing kind of had to take priority. Like my health has to come first 100% of the time. And so then how do I fit my school in around that?
Yeah. So what were you trying to solve when you decided to enroll in study school primarily? Just that balance between?
And I think I just needed more conciseness in my life, especially academically. I needed more of a plan. I needed more concrete steps for like, this is how this is going to get done, because I was working on a very limited amount of energy and a limited time frame and limited time that I was in class because I wasn't there all the time. And so I needed a very concrete plan for when you're in class, this is what you're doing. And when you're out of class, this is how this goes. And when you're missing class, here's what happens, because I just didn't know how to make it. All fit together. I was like, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah. And so what were some of the things that you started to search for initially when you realized this is a problem? Like, what were your starting steps? Even before you found study school, how did you try to find a solution?
I tried probably the things that everyone tries. You change your note-taking method, or you go on the internet and you search for that kind of stuff. I felt like I had pretty good time management skills, but it still just like was not working. And I really needed help with, and I didn't think I would get this out of study school, and then I did, but I really needed help with how to communicate with professors, because I could not ever successfully communicate what was happening or what was going on in my life, and how I needed to be accommodated, and how to go into a professor's office and be like, look, I have this really scary thing going on in my life. So, I tried to change my methods, but I really just was spinning my wheels because I needed more help. I needed more help than I realized with the emotional management side of college, and less help with how to study, which I thought that was flip-flopped when I enrolled in study school, and then it was not. I was doing just fine. I just needed somebody to tell me that my whole world was not falling apart. Thanks.
Yeah. And I mean, everyone here can probably relate to that, because I'm sure you guys all get annoyed with me telling you, you don't need another study skill. That's not the problem.
Yeah, I thought that I needed more study skills, but that I actually just needed somebody to help me get my emotional shit together.
Right.
My study skills were much less of the problem than I realized. I mean, we still like really improved on things, and I definitely can tell that like my note taking has gotten better and my testing skills have gotten better, but really I got better at like sitting down in front of people and being like, here's what's going on, and I know how I feel about it, and please help.
Yeah. So what made study school stand out for you, where you said to yourself, okay, I have to try this out?
You care about the people that you work with. You make it stand out. You are the product. I hate to say that, but like it's the truth. When I reached out to you for like our initial call, you didn't make me feel like I was a crazy person, and you didn't tell me to drop out of college. And most of the time when I've come to people and said like, I have a difficult health circumstance, their immediate response is, you should drop out. And you didn't say that to me. So you made it stand out. And the program seemed very systematic, and seemed like we covered all the bases, and seemed like you were available, and like other students were available, and like it would fit in my life, because my life is a little complicated.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
So I just felt like you covered all your bases, and I felt like you cared, and I felt like the community wasn't going to give up on me if my life started to fall apart a little bit. Yeah, that was kind of rambly. Did that answer your question?
Oh, yeah, it did. So what have you been able to achieve since enrolling in study school?
Mostly, I think I'm just more confident and more clear about what I want my college experience to look like, and more clear about what my vision looks like for who I am as a college woman. That's kind of ambiguous. Also, like, my grades went up. I know that's what everyone wants to hear. My grades went up. My test scores went up. My note taking got better. All those things happened. But they happened as a product of the emotional work that we did inside of study school, which you know, because you say that all the time.
Right, yeah. Everyone else cares about the grades. I'm just like, tell me about how you feel about yourself.
Tell me about your life. And I feel like I have the tools to miss class. Not that I'm going to do that, but like, I'm having surgery in the middle of this upcoming semester, and my surgeon told me I was going to be out for 2 weeks, and I was just like, okay, like, I can do that. And I would not have said that pre-study school. Like, I would have been out for the semester if you would have told me that I had to miss 2 weeks of class.
That's awesome.
So I just feel like clearer about what I'm doing when I show up to things and where I'm going and how it all fits into the vision. And the fact that I can make it all fit. I can deal with my health and get good grades.
Yeah.
And have a social life and all the things.
Yeah, see, it is possible. It just means you have to like change around your priorities. But it sounds like you've gotten that skill down really well. I mean, one of the things when we first chatted that you wanted to be able to do was be more involved on campus, and like you're an RA.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I work part-time. I'm involved in church. I'm dealing with my health. I'm doing school. I'm doing all. I'm doing more. I'm doing more than I ever could have imagined when we first sat down for that one-on-one chat, because I'm a very different person than I was when we sat down for that. Yeah. But yeah, I'm doing more and doing it better and feeling more fulfilled. Like, that's what I got out of study school.
That's awesome. So what was one thing that surprised you or exceeded your expectation in regards to study school? And what would you say to someone who's considering it but is on the fence?
I feel like I touched on this already, but I thought I needed better study skills and I needed to learn my emotional bullshit.
Yeah.
I needed to learn how to deal with my emotions and everything that I carried into college, because we all come to college with some sort of past and some sort of history with academics. And that really surprised me about study school, that for me, the study skills kind of took a backseat to all the other work that we were doing, because once I handled all the other work, everything else got a lot clearer to me about how this was supposed to go and what it looked like. I was really on the fence about study school.
I'm glad you're saying this. Like, I want everyone to be honest with this part of it.
I was super on the fence. I was like, I don't know, this is going to work for me. Like, I'm already good at this. I was your classic, like, already good at this studying. I was that girl. Yeah, I was super on the fence, and I didn't know if it was worth the money. And then we sat down for a one-on-one call. So that's the advice I would give people, is get on the phone with Clarissa, because she really cares about everybody that she works with. And it was very evident that you really cared, and it was very evident that we were going to make it work. And then I was pretty sold. Yeah, that'd be my advice. Get on the phone. But also, like, know that it is worth it, and you will get more out of it than you think that you will. Because even if I had just gotten the academic piece out of it, it would have been worth it. And I got so much more than the academic piece out of study school.
Thank you so much for saying that. And it's one of the things. I was actually talking to a student today who's considering study school, and I was like, I really don't care if you enroll or not, which sounds like I'm being really mean. But I just want you to have the information so that you can make the decision, because I know that you're going to succeed with or without study school. That's like not a question. It's a matter of how much do you want to be stuck in the same cycle, and for how long?
Right.
Because you can do it without me. I just kind of make the process a little bit simpler, because it's not going to be easy. You're still going to have to do some freaking work, but the process will be simpler. McKenna, that was it. Is there anything else you'd like to add? I know that you tonight have another arrangement, so I don't want to keep you on longer than you need to be here.
Yeah. I think I would just say, like, don't be scared. Like, we're all going to sit here and talk about, like, what a bunch of hard work that it was, because it was, but you also, like, make it very simple, and you make all the emotional work feel, like, very safe, and there is community. And so maybe this isn't a common experience, or maybe it is, but I was really scared when we showed up for that first, like, study school session, and it was a lot less terrifying than I thought it was going to be. So that would be my other piece of advice, is if you committed to it and you want to be part of study school, just show up with all of your stuff on the table and be honest about what you're showing up with, and it will all work out, because the community was super non-judgmental, and you're super non-judgmental, and I got a lot more out of it just because I decided to be honest about who I was and what I was showing up with.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to move on to Emily. I'm going to go ahead and mute you, McKenna. And again, whenever you need to drop off, just drop off. All right, Emily, who is our Aussie student. Yeah, and super non-traditional because you're like, I would consider an adult student. You're primarily working, going to school around your work schedule and all of that. So why don't you go ahead and explain what your college experience was like before enrolling in study school?
Well, my experience was very like up and down, and like I feel like I would always like start the semester well, and I'm like, this is the semester I'm going to succeed, and then it's like week 3 and I'm like exhausted and I'm working too much, and I like, you know, am eating awful food and I feel terrible, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then some semesters I would manage to, you know, pull it together and sort of scrape through, and other semesters, like I think the semester just before I enrolled in study school, I ended up failing 3 subjects, and I was like, oh my gosh, something has to change. Like this is, like I remember looking at my grades and I was like, this is awful. And the thing is, I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen from like maybe week, because if we have like a 13-week semester, like week 7 or 8, like I knew I was going to fail these 3 subjects, and I was like, well, you know, I'm just going to keep going and like, you know, do the exam, and then that way I know what to expect for the exam, and I've already paid for it, so I'm going to get a fail anyway. And so I just knew that was going to happen. But then like when I saw the grades, and I was like, oh, yep, this is not nice at all. So yeah, it was a mess and just awful, and I was trying to do like my best, but it just wasn't, I just couldn't get like anything together. It felt like nothing was ever going right. Yeah.
And so similar to what I asked McKenna, so what were you trying to solve when you decided to enroll in study school? Like if you could pinpoint like the biggest thing that you were frustrated with.
Well, I knew that my mental health was like a big factor in everything that was going on. So I had support in that regard, and so I wasn't necessarily like, I knew that there would be like in study school, some of that would perhaps be supported, but I was definitely like McKenna said, looking for like those study skills, because I was like, it's got to be about my study skills, right? Like, I mean, I don't know if I don't know, it was weird because I knew if I actually was able to like get past what was in my head, I could do very well. But at the same time, I was like, it's got to be study skills, because that was easier than trying to figure out what was, you know, blocking me, because I was like, it's got to be study skills. So anyway, that was what I thought I wanted help with, which ended up, I mean, happening. But also, yeah, the more mental side of stuff is where the golden ticket is.
And so what were you doing to try to solve your problem before you enrolled in study school? What was kind of like your initial reaction to try to like save yourself after failing those classes?
I don't know. What did I do? Well, I definitely, what I would do is I just like, I don't know, go into like this, like, I don't know, place where I just like didn't accept like anything. And I was just like, I feel like I would walk around like a zombie and just like, I'd be like, okay, I need to sort this out. But I'm like, not ready. And I would have to make decisions about things, and I couldn't make decisions about things. And I was like, and like, that was like, I was just so exhausted. And so how I would get out of that, I don't even know. Probably like multiple sessions with my counselor, and then eventually I'm like, okay, cool. And then I had enough of a break from uni. I'm like, yeah, I can do this. Like, I've got this time. So probably, yeah, the support from my counselor would be primarily what I would sort of use to help with that. In amongst like consuming so much, you know, material on how to study better and, you know, how to, you know, get a better mindset. But I was never really like applying that stuff either. Like I was just kind of like consuming it because I'm like, oh, something will plant in here and I will be a changed person. But
And so what made study school stand out for you, where again you were kind of like, oh, I think this is it?
I definitely I was like, okay, after that, I'm getting those like 3, so I did 5 classes and 3 of them I failed. I was like, something massive has to change. So I was kind of, in a way, looking for that something that was like massive, if you will. So, and lo and behold, thanks to the wonderful marketing on Instagram, I found you. So thank you. Normally I'm like, oh, marketing, so annoying. But this time I was like, oh.
I'm glad that it's working. That's awesome.
Yeah, because I saw like the anti-procrastination guide and I was like, procrastination, it's one of my issues. So I read through it and I was like, hey, like this seems legit. And so then like through that I was like, who is this Clarissa? Like, what does she know? So yeah, I like, was going through and I was like, oh, this study school. I was like, this looks like something big that I'm looking for. This looks like it's got everything I need. It's got those study skills and that's all I need, obviously. So I was like, that's it. Like I really was looking for something that was going to create massive change. And yeah, and even though like it was obviously a massive decision, but yeah, I was like, this is what I'm looking for.
Perfect. So what have you been able to achieve since enrolling in study school? I know it's a lot because you and I chat frequently. So
lots of things. I haven't failed any more classes, which is fantastic. And like it's still, sometimes I look at it and I'm like, I feel like in some ways I feel like I've achieved nothing, but I have achieved so much. But I don't like, it's not like, because like I was saying before, I wanted something that was like, bam, I'm going to be a changed person and then I'm going to feel super different. But like, I don't necessarily like feel like, bam, super different, because there's still challenges, because you still have to, contend with your own mindset. So it's not like, yeah, I became like this superwoman that I really wanted to be. But definitely like I cope a lot better. My boundaries and like saying no to things is so much better, which is so huge. Because I didn't know how to say no ever. So hot tip, say no. And yeah, so, and I've, been able to, I guess, continue to sort of create a belief in myself that I can do this. And even those times when I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed and I have no idea how I'm going to get this done. I've now, what has it been? Like 1, 2, 3 semesters, I think. And like, I always get to that point and I'm like, I don't think I can do this. And I'm like, wait, no, like, I can do this. And I sort of, will go back to the material in study school and sort of find what I need. And occasionally I'll check in with you. And one of the things like last semester, because I was really struggling last semester, because again, I worked a little bit too much in the beginning of the semester, burnt out a little bit. I was able to pick myself up a lot better. So I didn't end up in a heap. But and then I think we had a call, and then I don't know, something that you said was like, okay, what was it? I was like how much can I get done? And then it was like, I'm going to blow my own damn mind. And I think you said something similar to that. And I was like, this is amazing. So I literally wrote that on a Post-it note. And I put it, and I'm looking over here because I put it up here next to my desk because this is where I work. And then every time I was like, I don't think I can do this, I'd look at that and I'd be like, I can do this. Like, I'm going to blow my own mind. Like, I'm going to like knock this out of the park. And I got through it. So, and so there's just a whole bunch of different, things in study school that just really, depending on where I'm at, just sort of help me go, yeah, I can do this, and then do it, basically. Yeah, and does that answer the question? I think I got a bit lost.
It does, yeah. And there were a couple of things that you mentioned, because McKenna had said the same thing. And the pattern is that like things didn't change for you guys overnight. It took a couple semesters.
Yeah.
And so I'd love for you guys to speak to that. I'm going to mute you too, McKenna, so that people can see that like, And this isn't like an overnight success type of thing. Like, this is going to take time. And every semester that you apply the skills, you get a little bit better at handling being a college student alongside life. And so I don't know if you experienced the same thing, McKenna, where like first semester was probably really hard with study school and you probably hated me a little bit. And then second semester, you're like, okay, I kind of get it. And then third semester, you're getting the hang of it.
Yeah, I think like the semester that I was in study school, I didn't hate you, by the way. I thought that I hadn't. I was like, oh, I have it, yay. And then we got to that next semester and I was like, oh, I have it a lot more. And then I think each subsequent semester, I feel like I have it more than the previous one. I don't know if I ever felt like it was super, super hard, but I can see now how much I've progressed, because you are asking yourself and your brain kind of to run a completely different program. Like, you're asking yourself to let go of everything or of a lot of stuff that you knew how to do and try something different. And that's hard and that's scary and that takes time. And so even in that first semester when I felt like, oh, I have this, I probably really didn't, but I had it more than I did before we started, and I have it more now than I did then. And so it is this progress chart of like, oh, I keep getting better at doing this.
Yeah.
And figuring out what works for you and where it all fits. And
yeah. Thank you for adding that. And then Emily, when you were saying like you were expecting this big like overnight change, I love that you said that, because it's the little shifts that make the biggest impact in our lives. But we all think that there's going to be this like magic pill that all of a sudden it's going to make us Beyonce or whatever else that we want to be in life. And it's like those small shifts that over time, like 10 years later, you look back and you're like, wow, like look at all this shit that I've been able to do. Like, I'm so different, but we don't notice it in the day to day. We only notice it in retrospect. And so the fact that you said like, I didn't change overnight, like I'm not, it's not like I'm a completely different person, speaks to the nature of what progress actually looks like. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was just, I was definitely like study school, I was looking for that magic pill for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I still, like we all do, we still all have that like tendency, like how can I hack this, and like,
I still do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's just like I'm gonna, I don't know, bust the formula or whatever. Like, but yeah, it's something that some days you like get it and it's great, and then like the next challenge comes up and you're like, oh man, like you wanted me to run through this again? Like it was hard enough the last time, and now you want me to really? So yeah, and definitely like it's a slow progress, but like it's very like it's the best, because it's not just in my like my study life that I have improved. It's like at work, like I've gained more confidence and be like, this is how it's going to be, so make sure that this happens. No, but like, and and in like in relationships with like my family and my partner, and sort of like it's sort of spilled across to all areas of my life, the stuff that we do in study school, which I think is really, really important. And I know that a lot, like all of the skills that I've learned here will then continue as I sort of then finish uni and then go into my future profession, because this is all important stuff. So yeah.
And you might have already mentioned it, might not, but what surprised you or exceeded your expectations about study school? And then what would you say to another college woman who is finding themselves in the same position that you were in at the beginning before you enrolled in study school and is considering enrolling?
What surprised me? I guess what surprised me was that I couldn't hide behind that I wanted the fact that that I wanted to, or that I thought I needed better study skills. It was kind of like I got there and I was like, okay, like this all makes sense, I can do this. And I was like, this seems too simple. And in like when I first started doing it, it wasn't like it was, I kind of realized I was like, oh, like this is all coming from like my mindset, and I can do, like I can change my, what my studying looks like, but I was at the point where half the time I couldn't implement it because I was procrastinating. And so it was all about like, I could no longer hide from that because I've got the best study skills here that I need to follow. Like it doesn't get any better than this. And it was kind of like, and I still don't feel like I've got my you know, shit together basically. And so I was like, oh, man, all this mindset stuff we've been talking about. It is time. So yeah, and I think if you are sort of like, you know, hovering on the fence, I remember being like, I don't know, I had it up on my phone and I was like, do I do it? Do I not? Do I press the button? Do I not? And then I slept on it and I was like, do I? Do I not? And I was like, oh, and I was like, okay, all right. And I was like, I just did it. And then I don't know, probably threw my phone on the bed or something and I was like, oh my gosh. And it was so good. Like I would, do that again and I would not hesitate at all because, I just think that the shifts, and again, like I'm super, especially I am someone who is a perfectionist, and so I find it very like, and so with that comes a lot of like procrastination, and I just needed something to help, you know, draw me out of that into like the growth mindset, which, you know, I think we've spoken a little bit about, you know, in there. I can't quite remember, but and so that sort of helped facilitate that, and that's where the biggest change has come for me. So if you're a perfectionist, definitely yes, do it. If you're struggling otherwise, definitely yes. Just yes. Press the button and sign up. That's what I say.
Well, thank you so much, Emily, for sharing your story and for giving someone else. I know someone's going to watch this and like see themselves in you because you're like so real and so funny. You're hilarious. The more I get to know you, the more I realize how funny you are. But yeah, so thank you so much for sharing that. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to Nandini, who I think you're also in Australia. Yeah. So, and then you are like you and Danielle are like the two most recent class of study school. So it'll be interesting to watch your perspective compared to McKenna and Emily's. So what was your college experience like before enrolling in study school?
It was a mess. It was like Emily was saying, I would start the semester excited and ready to start working, and about midway through I would just have a breakdown, and then it would just all go it would just be like an endless loop of that basically each semester, and it just would not get better after that. And then maybe towards exam time I would sort of feel a bit better and then start picking myself up, but then it wasn't necessarily always enough, and I felt like I didn't have time for anything. It like going to uni just seemed to consume everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so what were you trying to solve when you decided to enroll in study school? What was that like one thing that you were like, if I could fix this would change everything?
I think I was trying to fix me. Like I sort of it came in, and by that point you had talked a lot about how study skills are not the answer to everything, and so I was like, okay, I know it's not that, but then I don't know what else it is either, so I'm still, you know, I got to figure that bit out. And it was really just trying to figure out what it was I needed to change. But I think I just wanted to change the fact that this cycle just kept going on, and I just could not live with it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what were you trying to do on your own to fix that problem? So what was your initial search, I guess, in order to find a solution?
I started off thinking that I needed study skills, so I would watch all of these videos and I would read all of these articles and stuff, and then then I sort of realized that it wasn't really that. And then when I did realize it wasn't really those skills, I started listening more to your videos and reading some of your articles. And I was part of the Facebook group as well. So it just anything that you put out there, I'd be like, okay, how can I try to use that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you were getting familiar with my work and like learning from there. And then what was it about study school that really stood out to you where you finally said, okay, I want to try this out?
I think it was really the fact that you didn't just focus on study skills, and to you that these skills that you needed could be learned. It wasn't just something you were born with, because I had told myself for so long that I just could not be one of those people who did well. Like that's just not me. And but that's so against what you stand for. It's all about you can learn to be that person. Yeah. So it was really just coming into study school, knowing that I can be that person, and I will be supported through that.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that because that's in my slogan. So it's seeping in. People are listening. So what have you been able to achieve since enrolling in study school? What's different for you?
I think just being really confident, being confident that I can get this done, and being willing to show up for myself, and really and looking at why I haven't been showing up for myself before as well, because I've told myself all these stories. And I think one exercise that really stood out to me, the one that you did where you look at why you've sort of kept yourself from going there, and it really helped me learn a lot about why I wasn't already there. And yeah, yeah, it was just all of those things that we did together. And even on the call when we looked at being bored and stuff, like when I first heard that, I was like, no, not for me. And then I sort of thought about it a bit more, and then I was like, yeah, I'm slowly starting to see the value in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what Nandini's talking about is that I challenged her to let her study sessions be boring, and she resisted it like the plague. And so that's one of the things that she's been working through. So it's so nice to hear you guys go from like the things that you were like, you're crazy, I don't think I'll ever get to that point, to like now seeing you guys embrace some of these things and see the value and the lessons in them. And so that's been really nice. So Nandini, what was something that surprised or exceeded your expectation when it came to study school? And what would you say to a college woman who is considering enrolling but has some hesitations?
So I had been sitting on the fence about study school for like a year. So if you're thinking of enrolling, yeah, do it because you won't regret it. I think so. When I enrolled in study school, it was midway through my last semester, so I didn't have time to apply all of those things. So it's more at the end of the semester that I started really going over the lessons, and I didn't expect for such a huge shift to happen, because from last semester where I was like, I'm not smart enough, so I just started my semester this Monday, and I went into class being like, I got this, and I'm just as smart as everyone else in this room. So it's so I did not expect to feel that. I thought that it was still going to take me like a really long time to get there. But I think the really good thing about study school is that it really gets you to embrace your power and gets you to embrace who you are.
Yes. Uh-huh. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and for saying all those kind words. And I can't wait to see what happens for you this semester. Because again, like you saw with Emily and McKenna, it takes a little bit to get the hang of it. So you're going to see a lot of things shift for you this semester. And I'm like going to be watching you to see that story unfold. All right, Danielle, my last victim for the night. So what was your college experience like before enrolling in study school?
I wish that it came with admissions, like a requirement, like you need to do study school in order to even be in college, because you need it. Like it needs to be sitting right there as a requirement, because before it was just like kind of just, trying to figure it out. Like everybody's like, yeah, I got this, it's fine, beginning of the semester, you're like, yeah, I'm going to Target, I'm going to the dollar spot, these cute supplies, get these cute pens. And then after you get the syllabus, you were like, what is this? So that's how the semester was before study school.
And what were you trying to solve when you decided to enroll in study school? What was your biggest frustration with the college experience?
I think the biggest frustration was trying to balance things. Because working full time and then also taking classes is like, how do you do it? Everybody's just like, oh, we all do it. But it's like, we're all internally struggling, but we all are like just zombies on a college campus, like trying to do it, but we don't want to say we're struggling. We want to look like the good student. So that's what it was, like trying to balance it. Cause I was like, oh, everybody around me got it. But then after talking to people, I was like, we're all dying slowly. Like that's literally what it was. Yeah.
Oh my God, so funny. We're all dying. So besides going to the dollar spot in Target and getting your like cute supplies that you thought was going to help you, what else were you like initially searching for before you stumbled upon study school to help you? Like what were your methods of trying to find a solution?
Well, of course, YouTube first, because when you Google it, they send you straight to YouTube, of course. And then it was like I would type in time management tips for college students, or productivity tips, or how to be a better college student. Or for me, I'm a type A student, so I put in stuff like type A college student success, so like stuff like that. And then somehow the algorithm, boom, Clarissa came up. So that's how the hashtags are working. Your SEO is working. So yeah.
So what made study school stand out for you, where again you were like, okay, I'm gonna like dip my toe in. I'm just gonna try it?
Well, after watching like a whole playlist of videos, because YouTube does autoplay, I didn't know what you were talking about. I was like, she just keeps talking about study school. I'm like looking on my Coppin website, because I go to Coppin. I'm like, I don't see the study school stuff. Like, what is she talking about? But then I realized it actually was a whole program that actually helped you. And the main thing that made me actually get into it, because it wasn't just the study skills. It was like helping you be a whole student. So like actually each part of your life is intertwined, and it not just being only university. Like you go to college and people are like, oh my gosh, your life is over, you're going to be stressed. They give you all of these things when in reality, if you actually just learn the skills, you wouldn't have these problems. So like you think, oh, I'm in my freshman seminar class that is required. They're going to teach me how to do this stuff. And you get in the class and they have you doing APA, MLA, stuff that doesn't help you at all once you get to the next classes. So it was actually like what college should do in a program.
Yeah, I know. I say it all the time. They do such a good job of like getting you in, but then they drop the ball once you're there. And I mean, I feel like there are like financial reasons why they do this, but ulterior motives or whatever, extra student loans, whatever. This is like me, like my brain going, who knows why they do it. But yeah, I agree with you 100% because it was my experience in college. It's like, oh, like you came to my school and actually like recruited all of us. And now we're here and you're like, Clarissa, who? Oh,
right.
You're here?
Right.
You're a student here? So what have you been able to achieve since enrolling in study school?
Well, because of study school, taking 7 classes last semester wasn't bad. So I originally,
type A.
Right. The transfer student thing. So I came from a community college and then transferred to Coppin. So community college was like, oh, I got this, college girl boss, hashtag girl boss, did all of that stuff. But then when I got to university, it was like, I was just like, what in the world? Like, none of this stuff happened at community college. I didn't struggle at all during that time, being like in the gifted and talented classes. You're like, I never struggled with this stuff. And you finally get to university and you're like, what in the world? So I think it was kind of like just learning more how to balance myself. Like, not just balancing life, but literally balancing myself, like getting myself in check, checking in with myself before I even did work. So like doing a mindful moment, taking a breather, even doing like the Pomodoro sessions where we had to log on, and I was like, what? We're just gonna look at each other for 25 minutes?
Yeah, we're just gonna sit here and study.
Right. And then that actually was like accountability, because me, again, type A perfectionism, I'm like, it's supposed to look like this, and if I do it right now, it's not gonna look like how I want it to. And then I end up doing it in 25 minutes because I knew how I wanted it all along. So that it's like the stuff is innate, but we just have to, study school like brings it out of you. It like
Yeah. So what surprised you or exceeded your expectations about study school? And what would you say to another college girl who's considering it but has some hesitations?
I would definitely say yes to study school, because you want to set yourself up for success in college at all times. So you want to be a successful college student, and college doesn't have to be, such a hamster wheel, continuous of stress. You actually, if you learn how to get the skills, you can balance it all. You can take the day off during the week and have stuff done. You can actually be in the class and be more engaged instead of, just being there. You're actually physically and emotionally present in school, not just going through the motions, being there, praying that the semester will end quickly, praying that your teacher will, just give you all A's, which, I've done that before, but it didn't work. But I would say to them, actually join this because you're believing in yourself. And then it's also a group of women who we're all striving towards the same goal. And we're all, either traditional students, non-traditional students. So it's so much diversity so that we all understand each other, but we all have stuff in common as well.
Mm-hmm. And what was one thing that surprised you about study school?
The thing that surprised me is that the work that I thought was hard was actually stuff I was already able to do. It wasn't extra work. It blends into what you're already doing. So like in school, you're already trying to get your notes together, taking notes already. It's just giving you kind of like a starter pack of how to get ready for any classes that you have. So that way, if you do have to add another class on your schedule, or you even have to take a class away or something changes in your program, which happened to me more often. But once I was able to have the study skills from study school, I was able to balance it. It was fine.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Oh, there's an echo. What is that? Odd. I think it went away. Okay. It made me sound like a monster. That was kind of creepy. So thank you, girls, so much for being on with me tonight and for sharing your stories. I know that there are going to be a lot of women watching this and, again, seeing themselves in your journey. And because you spoke up tonight, because you shared your struggles and you shared what you've been able to overcome, they're going to be more likely to believe in themselves and to not give up and to give this a chance. So I really, really, really appreciate it, you guys being here. And I'm going to end the recording now.